if you're getting I always talk about the inspiration. If you're inspired to start doing something, just follow it. And, one step will lead to the other. And the other thing I think that so many of us, especially when we have a passion to want to get out there, but we don't know how, don't worry about the how. You get into the passion and you get into the feeling, and the how just takes care of itself. It always does. And so, your business is not the how. Your business is the what. Feel it, believe it, see it, and then let it manifest. But the most important thing is to listen. You got to listen to yourself. Don't listen to the outside. Right? Oh, why are you going to do that? Or that's going to cost too much. Or that doesn't make any sense. Or you're going to move across the country. All of those people, they don't have the same feelings you have.
Right. And for me, a big part of it is, it's for whatever reason, hiding. It's like I want to do this, but I don't want anyone to know I'm doing it.
Right. Well, and that's really like where I was in my 20s was, I come from a really religious family, and not my parents, not, but my entire family is very religious, and I was raised in a very religious community, so I just didn't want the conflict of, okay, what is she doing? She's talking to dead people, like, and this was 20 years ago when it wasn't on TV and people didn't talk about it, so. But it came to a point where I had to decide what was most important. Was I going to honor me, or was I going to honor them? And I came to a place, and I think this is a hard place to come to for some people, is I decided that I cared more about how I felt than how other people felt. And that was the bottom line. And, in some perceptions that might be considered selfish or, different things. But ultimately, I'm the one that has to live with me. And so that's how it changed.
And so you also mentioned before it was on TV, and that reminded me of the fact that you are also active in helping finding missing children. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, I started 6 years ago. Tomorrow is my anniversary. 6 years ago, I started with an organization called Find Me, and Find Me is a not-for-profit organization that works with police, search and rescue, and psychics, and we work together all over the globe. We have people all over the world, and we work together to work on missing persons. Missing children is how it started, and now it's moved into missing persons cases. And so sometimes there'll be cold cases, but most of the time they're cases that are active, within a couple of years. And we've had some great success with it. I think that we've had 30 plus finds. Most of them deceased, unfortunately. That's typically by the time we get the information, we're out of the 48-hour range where we can make a difference. But I really, again, happened upon that in it fell into my lap. It came to me. I was doing mediumship work. I was having experiences with knowing things about people that I didn't know anything about. My husband watches the news. I haven't watched it for 10 years because it triggers stuff for me. And I saw a woman's face, and when I saw her face that night, and for the next 2 weeks, I saw everything that happened to this particular woman, and I was reaching out, trying to find somebody to share it with. I called the police, I called the families, they thought I was nuts. The police were like, well, how do you know that information? And I thought, oh shit, now I'm getting myself in trouble here.
Yeah.
And so but from that, wanting to be of service, but not really wanting to at the same time because it was scary. And I like the airy-fairy stuff. I like the angels, and I like the fairies, and the real life, heavy duty, death, murder, that kind of stuff was not what I wanted to do. But I did enjoy bringing the closure to the families, and so I realized that was part of my service work, although I pushed against it for a very long time. When I finally did find an organization that could be my voice, that I could do what I do, and then share it with people who would listen, then that really came full circle. And I didn't have to push against it any longer. But, I think that sometimes the work that we do, especially when we're so sensitive, which that's why we do it, we have to be very, very good at maintaining our own energy. And so I think it took me, that resistance was to take me enough time to get to the place where I was good enough at maintaining my own energy.
So since my perception is the medium version of television, how does it work? Do they contact you, they give you some details about it, and there's a group of you that all submits thoughts and what's coming to you? Or do you actually get together at some point?
No, we don't actually ever get together. Most of us don't know any of it. There's 100
Okay.
plus psychics right now. I think there's about 10 police, and then we have about 35 search and rescue animals. And the way that our organization works, excuse me, is we have the man who created it, Kelly. He sends us all out an email, and in the email we have the name of the person that's missing, a picture of the person that's missing, their date of birth, their place of birth, and the day they went missing. And that's usually all we have. Once in a while, if he feels like it's important to give a detail, last seen at, we might get that. But most of the time, that's all the information we get. And then we have, depending on the age of the person, if it's a child, we have, I think, 24 hours. If it's an adult, which an adult, unfortunately, is over 13, then we have up to 7 days, depending. But as we do whatever it is we do, because we've got remote viewers, we have dream interpreter, we have all kinds of people that are involved in many different realms of this. We fill out basically what would be considered a police report. So suspect, license numbers, latitude and longitude of where the body is, latitude and longitude of where the suspects are. So we have to actually identify to very minute details the information that we're getting. And what I've learned from this whole process was that as a medium, I'm a feeler. I would feel, I can feel that they're underground. I can feel that there's that it's cold. I can feel these things. Well, police don't really care about feelings. They want to know. Okay, tell me the cross streets. Tell me the last name. Tell me the license number. And so it was a process, and I think all of us in the group, to varying degrees, have had to learn how to tune in to a different set of tools to be able to give them the information they're looking for. But as I said, when we have cases, we had a case a couple of years ago where a man was missing, and we were able to identify him. We use Google Earth, and there was, I think, 17 of us that were within 100 feet of where his body was found. And so for 17 psychics, one in New Zealand, one in London, that have never even been to the city or state, it gave validity for a lot of people. Are like, well, how is that going to happen? And there are times where we're all off too, where one person's got him over here, one person's got him alive, one person's got him dead, and a lot of times that's the influence of all different types of things. So, but it's great when we see that connection and when they can look at 100 psychics and they see 25 have the basic same information, it gives them an area to go to that they didn't have otherwise.
Right.
So it's cool. That's a neat part of being able to be of service.
The whole way that technology plays such a part in it today, and then also the closure that you mentioned for the family. So in that in that closure, do you ever have direct contact with them, or you just know that you've provided closure for them? Rarely do we have direct contact with any of the family, unless they are a local family. So oftentimes what happens is, because of the work I do, people will contact me, and then I will meet them, or they'll call me, or I'll talk to them, and then I'll send them to the group, because 100 psychics is better than one. And our information is listened to when we're going through the right channels, which is what the opportunity with having the police, retired police with us. But so it is rare, but we have worked some cases where the family has come to us, or they've brought us their clothing or different things like that, because they felt like that would be of benefit. And we know that the closure happens because regardless, even if we don't find the body, if we find the suspect, if we give them clues, if we can even just communicate what the loved one is saying to the family member, which sometimes it comes through that way too. We did a case once where the girl who was missing told me, I don't want to be found. And so we're all trying to find her, and my message was, she doesn't want to be found. She's not going to be found. It's just the way it is. So, and she told me that it was because her father was on every single search. And so I just
he
had the
wouldn't be
chills.
there.
Was it Drew Shadeen?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because that exact same
Message.
scenario.
Yeah. No, this was actually a local one several years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and her father was on every search, and she didn't want her father to find her that way.
That was exactly